Hello, everybody. Welcome to Best Ever You. I'm your host, Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino, and with me is beautiful author Jennie Lee. She's the author of 3 books. Her newest book is Spark Change. And we were just over on the radio show talking about all 3 of your books and did some questions and all the good stuff. But right now, what'd you say before we go? Breathe. We're going to breathe, right? Breathe. Okay.
We forget.
I know. Well, I'm excited to see you and have you on here. So, of course, I'm not breathing like mellow. I'm kind of hyper and excited to have you on the show. But we were talking about, I'll calm down a little bit. We were talking about taking our listeners and our viewers on like a little beginning yoga journey. Because I confided in you that I do not know yoga like you know yoga. And it can be kind of intimidating for somebody sitting there going, you know, I really want to learn this. And somebody texted during our last show kind of confirming my suspicion that people don't know yoga as well as maybe we think they do. And like, you might be open to hearing that and guiding us to get us started. So let's say I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy into this whole yoga thing. You can see, you can see it in your skin even, and your smile and everything. It's working for you. So I want that. What do I do?
So thank you for asking. I have taught yoga for over 20 years, and I love working with yoga virgins. I actually have introduced a lot of people to yoga for the first time, and actually teaching beginners is so rewarding because they don't come in they don't come in with a lot of preconceived notions. Now, that being said, in the Western world, we certainly have seen a lot of imagery of yoga. Yeah. It's all over, right? It's all over advertising. We've got so many brands that are using it now. And so it's really come into a much more public eye than 20 years ago when I first started. But to start at the kind of the beginning, and this is something that I do in my first book, which is True Yoga, practicing with the Yoga Sutras for happiness and spiritual fulfillment. I start with this kind of an overview of the history of yoga in that book, in the introduction. And this is a 5,000-year-old science of living. So when we see all the pretty postures and people in really cute, tight clothes and things, that's not really what yoga is. Yeah, no. The physical stuff is just like the tiniest part of yoga. And there's, in the ancient texts, one of which is the Yoga Sutras, there is a kind of an outline of this, what's called the 8-limb path. And it's kind of this 8 aspects to what it takes to live a yogic lifestyle. And by yogic lifestyle, I mean one that is peaceful, one that is balanced, one that is joyful, one that's on purpose, and one in which we're really honoring all aspects of ourselves, the physical side, the emotional, mental, and the spiritual side, because yoga is a spiritual practice and it's available to people of all different religious backgrounds. So when I say spiritual, I don't mean according to any religion. I mean, it's about connecting to spirit. However you recognize that. It could be through a religion, it could be through nature, it could be in just your own highest self. So it's a beautiful and ancient tradition. And so hopefully that lays the groundwork.
It does, yeah. And, I love the fact that I can go to your Instagram and not be completely intimidated by, like some pose that I'm supposed to be able to do, which, I'm 51 years old. So I think that's part of it too. I think, okay, I'm going to be 51 pretty soon here. And you're like, okay, is this too late for me to start doing this? And I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to be the one, like posing, doing all these things on Instagram and all that stuff. So where do you start? Like, I heard your book, but what kind of pose can you do? Like, I joke that I have this yoga mat and a cat. And I'm like, oh, cool, the cat pose. That one I got. That's about as far as my yoga goes. So what else can we do that's like that? Because I love stretching. As an old gymnast, stretching is a wonderful thing. Is that what you mean, kind of?
Well, so let's, yeah, starting really at the beginning, what are all these yoga poses? Like, how did that become what people think of as yoga? All these poses, and some of them are really elaborate, right?
Yeah.
But
well, there's two people, and I'm like, wait a minute, to get
yeah.
that shot on Instagram, there's a lot of people involved.
There are a lot of people involved, yeah. And I've seen outtakes of like the photo shoots where it's totally failed, and I love the people who actually post the fail picture next to the beautiful picture.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot more real, because believe me, when you're learning headstand, it isn't always pretty. But but the yoga poses, all the yoga poses, they're called asana. And asana, it's just a Sanskrit word. Don't worry about it. It's not, I don't teach in Sanskrit. So some teachers do, and all the, like technical terms, but I don't. But the poses are really just meant to bring our bodies into greater comfort and greater alignment energetically, so that we can sit still in meditation. So here's another thing that people don't always know, is that yoga and meditation are not two separate things. Meditation is the sort of the end goal, if you will, of yoga. And so the poses are part of what prepares us for the sitting practice. And so when you're thinking about stretching, like you mentioned stretching, anything you do is great. You can call that yoga, in my opinion, because all the poses were just developed over the years by different practitioners who were looking at, what do I need to do to get my body aligned in a way that I can sit comfortably? So everybody is different. People come to yoga practice with injuries or illness or different ages or different body types. We were talking about your body type, my body type. And so we just have to honor where we are. And the simplest stretches, getting down on the mat with your cat, kind of creating the little sort of kitty loaf, will be a good stretch for your back. It's probably similar to what we would call child's pose, where we kind of curl up and breathe into the backside of our body. And so really, for somebody starting, I said this on the podcast this morning, start anywhere, make any movement, just start stretching your body, do an overhead stretch, hang down into forward fold, or sit in your chair and take a twist, or start to move your neck around. Simple stuff, but this starts to liberate the energy currents in the body, and then we start to feel better. And if we just start small like that, then it builds gradually. And you don't ever have to do the fancy poses. It's really not important.
I got the meditation part down, so maybe I am my own little yoga master already.
You're already practicing yoga.
I can sit still all day long.
Good.
The other thing I wanted to maybe give people a little bit of advice with you while we're here. We are in this mode where we're typing, and our head is forward, and our neck hurt, and our phones, and all this stuff. Maybe you can sit us up straight right now and help us with that, because it's
This is a simple one, but I use it almost every day. So I shrug my shoulders up towards my ears. Now half of us sit like this anyway. Shrug them up, and then let your head fall back and take a big breath in. Tense everything, and then exhale and drop back to where we started.
Awesome.
And then we'll do that a couple times. So inhale, shrug your shoulders, drop your head back, squeeze, and then exhale, drop, and really drop the shoulders with a big. Okay, let's try it again.
That's awesome. Does it matter whether you breathe in through your nose or out through, I get so confused. Like in Pilates, it's in through the nose, out through the nose, and I'm just I can't remember.
So there are a lot of breathing techniques within the yoga tradition. That brings us to another term. We talked about defining some terms, but breathing practices would fall under the category of what's called prana yama, and prana is life force. Yama is how we control it. It's control. So the way we breathe is a big part of how we control our life energy. And so just doing something like that, where we're squeezing tension out and then we're intentionally relaxing and letting go, we're starting to control our life force. And we do this through the breath a lot of times. There's other ways of doing it too. So pranayama is a greater category of how we utilize our life energy, but the breathing is a big part of it.
Cool.
So if you're breathing consciously, you're practicing yoga. That's a great first step. Breathe consciously, breathe deeply, breathe all the way up to your chest. Just taking a breath where you inflate your belly and you get it all the way up to your collarbones. Suddenly something is liberated, right? Because we usually breathe really shallowly, and especially if we're in that forward motion with computers and phones, we're collapsing the diaphragm and the lungs, and it's just not good. So, like you said, sit us up straight.
Yeah.
Let's take a deep breath in, like, whew.
Yeah, we stretch every morning up just as high as we can go to just stretch everything through here. My husband and I both sit in the kitchen and stretch. That's the funniest thing, but we do. And it works. Yeah. And, you know, I was thinking, as you were talking about breathing, I was thinking about having children, which I have 4 boys. They're now older and so forth, but I vividly remember childbirth and delivery of each one of them. And one of the things that got me through that was breathing. And an epidural, I will admit. I am an epidural queen. But breathing that in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, not the huffy puffy that made me hyperventilate, but the really slow, methodical breathing was so helpful to me. So I know it's random tip from Elizabeth, I guess.
No, it's not random at all, actually. And it is so important to remember that these basic techniques are incredibly impactful. And you mentioned on the podcast earlier, you know, people are really anxious and fearful right now. There's a lot of fear in the environment. And so how do we manage that? And one of the greatest ways that we can manage the fear state is through slow, deep breathing. And it can be as simple as what you just described, counting your breath, 1, 2, 3, 4, in, 1, 2, 3, 4, out, and regulating. What we're doing is we're not only regulating the breath, but we're also regulating our thought. And we talked about that earlier as well, you know, how important it is to watch our thinking and not allow ourselves to just spin off into the fear paradigm, but bring it back, and we bring it back through the breath. That's a beautiful practice you just shared. You're doing yoga. There you are.
Yoga. I didn't even know it. That's awesome. Let's talk about your books because they're beautiful. This one, Spark Change, that's newer, and that one's coming out. I know 3. You talk about woohoo, hands in the air on this. This is published by Sound True. Is that correct? And I've been on their website. That's a good collection of company to be in. I like them. Yeah. And so this comes out in September. Do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, sure. I'm so excited about this little book. It's such a cute little book. It's going to be in hardback. You have an advanced copy there, but it will be in hardback.
Hardback book? Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know how I scored that deal, but anyway, it's the kind of book that you're going to want to just leave on your coffee table. And it's fun because it's not a cover to cover read. It has 12 themes, and in those 12 themes, there's 9 questions each. So a total of 108 questions, which is a very significant number in a lot of spiritual traditions, including yoga. So these themes are meant to walk us through the process of conscious change, and we each have ways in which we are needing change. Some that might be real on the physical level, it might be on a much more esoteric level, it might be in terms of what we are trying to align with in our values or our purpose in life. Coming into our truth and our authenticity. I know I work with a lot of clients who are really trying to access that truth within and then live into it and express that in the world. So these questions are meant to kind of take you through some of those themes in your life, but it's a really easy, fun book to just dip into, grab a question, maybe talk about it with a friend or do a little journaling around it, or just sit and have a moment of stillness and see what arises. In terms of your own self-reflection. So yeah, I'm excited. It is available for pre-order.
Yep.
On all the major, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc. It won't be out till September 8th, but I would love it if you kind of put your order in now. I know Amazon's getting late on a lot of things. Books are considered non-essential. Oh, that's not true.
Oh, that's why we did that big books are essential hashtag the other day. Yeah, and authors. But I was going to say people could go to your website also and subscribe to your email, and then they'll have a good idea of when your book is going to come out in case it gets moved or anything like that, which I don't.
Yeah, and we're going to have a lot of freebies and offers and talks and things coming up in the next couple of months. So now's a great time to jump on my website list, because there's going to be a lot of great offers coming up.
Okay. So in the meantime, while that one's coming out, we have also this one. We talked about your yoga book, but this, I really loved this book. And so tell us about this. This was real, for me, a real chill out book. You could just kind of read it and just, and it makes you think. Again, you make us think. Good
Thank
conversations.
you.
Yeah.
So Breathing Love is my heart book. It's definitely
hold up like it's my heart book.
It's my heart book. It's the book that's really the most personal. It has personal stories at the end of each chapter. It really is my journey through deepening my devotion to spirit, opening my heart in so many ways throughout all the various relationships of my life, learning how to live love at a much more consistent and unconditional level, which I believe is what we're meant to do. And the ultimate purpose for all of us in being here is learning how to be love, live love, accept love, receive love. And so it walks you through practices. Each chapter also has practices, really easy ones, short ones, like less than a minute or two. Most of the end of chapter practices are super short. Great ones for right now, because a lot about taking tension down, calming, coming back into your heart space. Building that quiet.
Yeah, and that's when you can get, and you were also saying, is this one Breathing Love that you were saying there's audio of you?
Yeah, I narrate it. So you can hear me talking the practices and sharing my stories. And so if any kind of audio channel that you're on, iTunes, Audible, Apple Books, it's available on there.
Yeah, so you're what we call a spoiled traditionally published author. You have an audiobook and a hard book.
I had to audition for my audiobook. I had to audition. They didn't just say,
your own audiobook?
Yeah, my audition for my own audiobook.
Oh, that cracks me up. Yeah, no, that's super funny. All right, well, you passed. So good. Do you want to do what we did on the radio and teach us the 3 things again in this format real quick, and then we'll wind up so we aren't on here forever and ever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So Elizabeth asked me to teach 3 things, and I just spontaneously went to the 3 things that I go back to over and over again in my own mind. They're what keep me grounded and on track. First thing is to watch your thoughts. Our thoughts, we can't control what comes into our minds, but we can control what stays there. So watching our thoughts is this practice. It's part of the introspection practice, noticing what I'm thinking about. And if I'm brewing on a bunch of negativity and fear and anxiety, then that's going to be my experience today. But if I choose to redirect my thought, like we would redirect a child who's having a tantrum, and we just redirect them gently, really gently. Like, all right, let's not think about that right now. Let's go over here and think about how I can serve someone today. What difference could I make in someone's life? Maybe it's just, commenting on one of their social media posts. That everybody likes that. So it's a really sweet thing to do for people. And you can brighten someone's day. I know, gosh, people have commented on my posts and really made my day. They have no idea that they're making my day by commenting on a post sometimes. So simple. Like, there's lots of simple ways that we can serve one another. And that really takes us out of the depression or the anxiety, the negativity. So watching our thoughts, number 1. Number 2.
Can I interrupt right there?
Yeah.
Don't forget the second and third one here as I interrupt a little bit. But, I completely agree with you there. And there are so many ways. Everybody's worried about, well, if I don't have money to support another person, like if I can't actually really go buy your book, that doesn't mean you can't interact with you. There are so many free ways to support each other and help each other. And one of them is just one of the things that you like. So I just want to remind people, just a simple comment on somebody's social media post to let them know that you're thinking about them is huge, because there are so many people, especially like in Facebook, as you go through, like I go through my Facebook feed and there are like, please pray for me today. Please think about me today. I'm having a bad day. I'm having a great day. I'm in Hawaii. Oh. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know what I mean. But you know,
I need a palm tree back here.
Palm tree. You do. You need a way better a little fake thing you draw. But you know, there are so many things that you can do to perk up another person's day.
Yeah, and lifting someone else lifts us.
Yeah.
You know, we shouldn't be doing it for that reason, but it is a benefit of it. And so it does take us out of our own, you know, bad spin. Well, anyway, back to the three things. The second thing is resilience. And I think of resilience like a muscle. So we do get knocked off our practice, knocked off our horse, even the most positive of us. And I've been working the positivity thought train for a long time, but I have my days. And I was sharing with you that yesterday was one of them. I really just had a day. And so it happens, but we get back on. And so developing the discipline and the will to have practices that we go to, like watching our thoughts, like meditating, like, you know, doing something serviceful. These are the ways that we keep coming back to our alignment, and we build the resilience to stay the course that we've set for ourselves. And so we can't get discouraged. If we have a bad day and we're not our highest and best selves ever, which takes me to the third one, which is compassion. So the other thing that I always go back to is, if I'm having a bad day or somebody else is, can I please practice compassion for myself or for them? And certainly we need a lot of compassion for one another in the world. Everyone's struggling. Everyone's doing the best they can. We don't rise unless we rise together. I am a huge believer in being empathetic, seeking to understand rather than being understood, because it's in that seeking to understand the other person, we build the bridge, we feel compassion for their circumstance, and then inevitably they feel for us as well, and we just all have a much better experience of things. So watch your thoughts, be resilient, and be compassionate to yourself and others.
I love it. All right, so we're going to wind up. What's your website again, and where would you like people to connect with you? I'd said Instagram, but
sure.
However you send people would be great.
So my website is my name, Jennie with an I-E, Jennie, Lee, yogatherapy.com. Please join my newsletter there so you get all the freebies coming up for the new book, Spark Change. I'm most active on Instagram and Facebook. So Instagram is Jennie Lee _author, and Facebook, just Google Jennie Lee author, you'll find me. I think I have some weird long name on my Facebook, but if you Google Jennie Lee author, you'll find me.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us here on Best Ever You. It's a pleasure to learn from you and smile with you, joke around a little bit, and you know, just learn and talk about your new book. So there it is.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And hey, I want to congratulate you for no longer being a yoga virgin, because you actually were already practicing yoga. You were breathing and you were meditating. So
I just turned red again, probably.
Good job. And keep going.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Take care. I figure out how to end this. That's the one thing. There it is. It's down here. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you for listening.